Good Friday morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for this Friday, February 13th. Precipitation over the past 7 days on the left, a widespread area of precipitation all the way from the Canadian border down to the Mexican. A very wet pattern. You can see on the right-hand side, percent of normal, a lot of purple there. That's 300 to 600% of normal for the week. A few dry spots here in central western Utah. Localized effects due to downsloping in some spots, but the vast majority, over 90% of the Great Basin, had much above normal precipitation. A lot of that in the form of snowfall. You can see by the dark brown to red shades, anywhere from 18 to over 30 inches of snow in the Sierra. Similar amounts in the Uintas, and a good 10 to 20 inches elsewhere across the higher terrain. Anywhere you see those yellow to orange to red shades. Central mountains of Idaho, western Wyoming, higher terrain of northern Nevada, even some spots here across northern Arizona. Just about everyone had significant snowfall in the past 72 hours on the left. On the right-hand side, our snow cover continues to be very deep. Areas in purple indicate anywhere from 40 to over 100 inches of snow depth, depending on your location. But most areas above 7,000 feet continue to exhibit a deep snowpack, and some localized lower elevations as well as you head into parts of Wyoming. Satellite imagery shows another strong storm system off the Pacific Northwest coast, also tapping into some subtropical moisture here in the far lower left-hand side of the picture, and this will provide another wet onslaught for much of the area as we head into the weekend into early next week. So the weather map for later today into this evening, see that low pressure over the Pacific Northwest, moisture streaming on in. We continue to have very good overall dispersion, with areas in the white indicating basically unlimited dispersion. Reason for that, on the left, strong transport winds out of the southwest, gusts of over 40 miles per hour, and overall good vertical mixing. Now on Saturday, we are noticing this low kind of expands in aerial coverage to cover just about all of the west. Areas in green indicate cloud cover and ongoing precipitation. On the right-hand side, overall pretty good dispersion. Maybe some limits across some of Idaho, just because of the cloud cover, limiting some of the heating of the surface and limiting the wind. But where you see these good winds in the orange and purple shades, as well as the yellow and orange shades of mixing of several thousand feet, should have excellent overall dispersion. The question will be, what can you burn in a wet weather pattern? In many cases, it might just be covered piles. On Sunday, a very broad area of low pressure, not intense in terms of deepness, but just a broad area of moisture with probably widespread light precipitation from the Pacific Northwest all the way down to south of Vegas and into Utah, so just about everywhere. We do notice on the left-hand side, transport winds diminish a little bit. Vertical mixing also starting to diminish a little bit as well, just because of the low-level cold air that will be pushing into the region. 3-day precipitation accumulation from Friday afternoon through Monday afternoon indicates just about everyone sees measurable precipitation. Areas in the green, dark green, are quarter to a half inch. Areas in the blue are a half inch or greater. Much of that, or just about all of that, is going to be in the form of snowfall, so another widespread 3 to 6 inches of snow, and maybe some more across some of the higher terrain areas. On Monday, we see that moisture, the green area, exiting into Colorado, into the plain states. However, still under broad low pressure. The closest high pressure we can even see on the map is maybe almost 1,000 miles off the Pacific Northwest coast, so good winds, northerly flow. Right-hand side, no significant areas of poor dispersion. The dispersion is good to excellent. Similar story again on Tuesday. Areas in white and yellow indicate good overall dispersion. Maybe some limits across parts of southern Idaho and maybe some parts of western Wyoming, but overall not too bad. On the left-hand side, we see another storm system pushing into the Pacific Northwest. And then on Wednesday, the storm deepens, so more precipitation becoming more organized across Nevada, Utah, and into Idaho and western Wyoming. Dispersion overall pretty good in that kind of a pattern. That low continues to progress further south on Thursday. So a continued cloudy, cool, wet pattern with good overall dispersion. And notice the winds by the end of the period next Thursday, more out of the north and northwest. and that'll be the same for the transport level. So overall, precipitation accumulation days 4 and 5, not so much here, but it's days 6 and 7 that it starts picking up again across the Great Basin. And the same pattern continues in the 8 to 14-day outlook, February 22nd to the 28th, much colder than normal across the Great Basin, and a bit wetter than normal as well, especially the further south and east you go. This concludes our briefing. Our next briefing will be next week on Wednesday, since Monday is a federal holiday. Have a great day.